Hi, my name is Temni Wright, and this is the season finale of Lawyering Behind the Scenes, Season 1. So today we are going to talk about some news hot topics. I've had really fun making the season. I'm going to take a break, try to get things together for the next season, which will be January 2021. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is in episode 9 of Lawyering Behind the Scenes, I talked about celebrity estates and some of the legal issues surrounding when a celebrity dies without a will. And the same legal issues happen when a non-celebrity dies without a will. But since then, we've had the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman, who we know from Black Panther, which we did not know that he was battling cancer for the last few years. So, respectfully, despite knowing that he was dying of cancer, he did not have a will. So his wife now has to go through probate court, which we learned in that episode. When someone dies without a will, it's called they died intestate, which requires the court to figure out how their money is going to be divided and who is going to basically acquire their assets. He died in August at age 43, and his wife, Simone Leonard, is now in the court system to try to get to be named administrator of his estate. He had close to $1 million of asset when he died, and now we'll have to see what the court determines. It should be fairly straightforward, but we'll see what happens with that. If you want to learn more about estates and celebrity estate episode, it's episode 9 of season 1. Check it out. So next we're going to talk about in episode 5, I talked about the lawyering behind the scenes of engagements, marriages, and divorces. In that episode, it was in the news at the time that Dr. Dre was getting a divorce and his wife was disputing their prenup, saying that it was she was coerced into entering in the prenup. In that episode, you learned that there are certain parameters that need to be in place when someone's entering into a prenup. They have to be advised, they have to seek the advice of counsel, they have to have it in their own language if they don't speak English. There's a bunch of requirements that go into entering into a prenup, and it is to prevent coercion. So she is saying she was coerced in the prenup, and then she goes on to say, though, that despite the coercion, she entered into the prenup, but 2 years into the marriage, they ripped up the prenup, or Dr. Dre ripped up the prenup. So she's saying there's no prenup. Now, in recent news, we've also learned that she is asking Dr. Dre to produce the prenup that he's saying is in effect. So we'll see where that is. I don't know why we haven't seen it yet. Seems kind of fishy, but we'll see. But also, interestingly enough, Nicole, Dr. Dre's estranged wife, has also been investigated for embezzlement. So this is related to the divorce because she took money out of an account that Dr. Dre shared with his business partner. So his business partner filed a police report and accused her of embezzlement. I always think embezzlement is really interesting because embezzlement is when you steal something that you are trusted to. So it's in the context of an employee-employer relationship, which I think is the most time we see embezzlement, where someone's working at a company and they're embezzling money, like, either acting like they're procuring goods and instead it's a fake company and all the money is really going to them. Or embezzlement in terms of when financial advisors embezzle money from their clients. In this case, she had access to an account that Dr. Dre had his business partner, and she took money out of that account, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and because she was named on the account, she was trusted with the money, therefore embezzlement. If you want to learn more about the lawyering behind the scenes of engagements, divorces, and marriages, check out episode 5, and we'll stay tuned to see what happens with Dr. Dre and his wife. I am ending the season, but I will do some updates on Instagram, so follow me on Instagram at LawyeringBTS. Next, we're going to get into 2 really hot topics that happened this week. One is the closing down of Quibi, and the other one is the Google antitrust suit. So Quibi, if you don't know, is a short form video content company. So think Netflix if they had only on mobile devices and the videos were less than 10 minutes. Jeffrey Katzenberg is in the entertainment field, well known, has had many successful projects. Meg Whitman has been a successful CEO of various tech companies. They came together, created this company, Quibi. But when it came out during the midst of the pandemic. It came out in April, and it just didn't look good from the beginning, let's be honest. I heard that there was some good content, but the way that it was set up and the fact that you could only have it on your mobile device and the subscription pricing, it was flat to begin with. Now they blame it like a mix of the pandemic and the concept. Wish they would have thought about the concept more. So the thing that is so controversial about Quibi closing is, first of all, it's been 6 months. So they opened in April, they premiered, I guess, in April, and now it is October and they're closing. And also they had heavy hitting investors. So all the major studios, Century Fox, Lionsgate, MGM, a bunch of them invested. In addition to that, they had Warner Media, they had Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Chase. Like, they had a lot of money. $1.75 billion invested. $1.75 billion invested in a 6-month project. Just let that sit there. We're in the midst of a pandemic, so it is disappointing to think what that money could have been used for. That's business, but when we get into billions of dollars, there are so many companies that could be thriving now if they had that money, and instead they just called it quits. They're like, yeah, we tried to sell it, we tried to do this, we tried to do that, and it didn't work. So Quibi has been struggling for a while, you know, in the context of 6 months, a while. So at first they thought they were gonna sell the company. They were thinking of a strategic move to probably get more capital and just figure out what they needed to do. So the trouble with them selling the company was that they had, okay, so just to take a step back, Quibi had a lot of great talent that went into their short form videos. So they had Christie's Court with Christy Teigen, they had Rachel Hollis. The contracts that they entered into with that talent were probably not the best. They had 7-year licenses for the content that the talent created, but after 2 years, that talent could take the show, make it long form, and distribute it somewhere else. So that is great for the talent, but not so great for Quibi and any potential acquirers. So they couldn't sell the company, long story short, and they're closing, and it's funny because the internet, you know, the internet's funny. So they're calling it like Quibi and all these things. Quibi also has a lawsuit. They have a lawsuit from a company called EKO, and it is for misappropriation and patent infringement. So they even have litigation in the 6 months. So they've been through it all. Licensing issues, just a whole mess. Next, we're going to talk about Google's antitrust suit. So in the news this week, we saw that Google was sued by the Department of Justice for antitrust violations. This is based on the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. Wow. So old law. First of all, the suit is against Google, not Alphabet, which we know is the parent company of Google. Why is it against Google? Because it's specifically addressing its alleged monopoly in advertising and Google searches. So I'm gonna read the beginning of the complaint because this just makes you want to be a litigator. This is the beginning of the complaint. So like the first page, after you see, it's the Department of Justice also. Let me clarify. It's the Department of Justice along with a subset of states. So it's like 11 states have also joined in the complaint. It says, 2 decades ago, Google became the darling of Silicon Valley as a scrappy startup with an innovative way to search the emerging internet. That Google is long gone. The Google of today is a monopoly gatekeeper for the internet and one of the wealthiest companies on the planet. with a market value of $1 trillion and an annual revenue exceeding $160 billion. For many years, Google has used anti-competitive tactics to maintain and extend its monopolies in the markets for general search services, search advertising, and general search text advertising, the cornerstones of its empire. Dun, 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 dun. So that is how the complaint starts. So it is notable that the Justice Department has not brought an antitrust case this big since Microsoft 20 years ago. So there has been rumblings about this, break up the tech companies. I was gonna do an episode on this because it's been in the news all year. Break up the big tech, break up big tech. But the Justice Department is putting its money where its mouth is. And they're going after Google. So as we noted, or as they noted in the complaint, Google has a bunch of money though. So this is gonna be a good fight. Google's response to the complaint is that it's not a monopoly and you have our market wrong. So that is apparently a common defense against antitrust, is that the market in the complaint is defined incorrectly. Also, the beef that the Justice Department has is that Google pays a lot of money to other companies to monopolize this market. For instance, they have their own phones, but other Android devices, Google Search. Apple devices, Google Search. Google Search powers a lot of the search engines as the default setting. And the Justice Department is saying that's a monopoly. You're paying to be the default search on brands that you don't own, and on brands that you do own, you're obviously the default search. So it's very, very interesting, and we will see what's going to happen with this. So what is the practical implications of this suit? What will happen if Google loses? They will just have to restructure and change the way that they do business. I doubt that they're going to break up the company, especially since the suit is against Google, not Alphabet. So I think Google did a really smart thing when they made Alphabet the parent company. They obviously saw this coming. Google has a really strong legal department and a lot of public policy people on their staff. So they saw that, okay, they're gonna break us up, so let's divide our businesses. And now, of course, Google has the parent company, Alphabet, and then it has a bunch of subsidiaries that flow down from there. So stay tuned. I will update on my Instagram on this topic, so follow me at Lauren Behind the Scenes. Today, there's lots of interesting things happening in the news, despite the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic and an election. There still seems to be a lot of legal drama happening in the news, and I am all the way here for it. Like I said, follow me on my Instagram, and I'll try to keep you guys up to date in between the seasons. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in season 2.